What's going on YouTube? It's Teej back again with another video, and today I'm giving you an updated 2-round mock draft as we are about 3 weeks out, or by the time you're seeing this, 3 weeks to the day out from the 2021 NFL Draft. An awesome day to be a football fan, and the days are ticking down. First, I want to start with, if you're new to the channel and like football content, please subscribe for more of it. And if you joined today's mock draft, hit that like button and comment down below who your favorite team is, who you want them to target in the first 2 rounds, or just what picks you think I'm right on with, or which ones you think I'm just absolutely crazy about. So I'd love to have your thoughts, have a good discussion in the comment section, so definitely let me know down below. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this. I am not going to be projecting trades. We'll talk about that as we go along. Trevor Lawrence is going number 1. Don't need to sit and wait and talk about that, especially with the trade of Sam Darnold. Jets are going QB. 99% sure it's going to be Zach Wilson. And then we get to really where the draft starts. San Francisco 49ers hold the 3rd pick. I'm going to hop on the Justin Fields hype train. But, Daniel Jeremiah has said everything around the situation points towards Mac Jones. And it's one of those things where too much coincidence can't be coincidence. If everybody's hearing the same thing, it feels like this might be a Mac Jones spot. Which, if it is, teams like the Patriots at 15, maybe the Broncos at 9, maybe even the Lions at 7, got to be licking their chops trying to get up to potentially 4 to get their hands on a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance. But in my mock draft, I'm going to go ahead and side with Justin Fields in the spot. I think he's a terrific scheme fit. I think all 3 of these guys would be fantastic. I mean, that's kind of the Kyle Shanahan effect. Give him a QB. He'll make him a lot better than he normally would be in any other spot. Like, Justin Fields in San Francisco is way better than Justin Fields in Denver, though I do think he'd be good in Denver. They have a lot of weapons. That's not a knock on the Broncos. It's just the Kyle Shanahan effect. Same can be said about, Trey Lance in San Francisco versus maybe in Atlanta years' time. Who knows? But I'll go ahead and go with Fields here. I'll end up doing more of these mock drafts. I'll probably do one without trades in 2 weeks' time, and then the day before the draft, I'll include one with trades in it. It'll be my final predict the 1st and 2nd round of the NFL draft. So if you're excited for that, hit that like button. And on to the Falcons at 4. I have them sticking with a QB. I mean, I think they'd be crazy not to go QB, and apparently their phones are going off the chain, and they should consider trading down from 4. They should trade down from 4 if they're not going QB. It's one or the other. Either get your QB of the future, or you trade out and you get a haul of picks. So this will also come down to, if the 49ers go with Mac Jones, then a team like the Patriots, if their guy is Trey Lance, or the Broncos, their guy is Justin Fields, however each team's draft board has played out, then they'll be able to pull the trigger. They don't want to do that yet, and then have their guy be taken by San Francisco at 3. So if Atlanta trades, I think it's going to be on draft night. But in this case where I'm not projecting a trade, maybe you want to just say Trey Lance goes 4 to team TBA, but Trey Lance goes 4. I'd be okay with that. But if Atlanta holds on to the spot, they got to get the QB of the future. You can move on from Matt Ryan in a year's time, hand it off to Lance. You can restructure Matt Ryan's deal. He's got 2 more years left on the contract after 2022's enormous dead cap hit. And just like with Matt Stafford, he can be traded to a team, and then they restructure his contract. I mean, there's plenty of ways to work it around. The cap in the NFL is not necessarily as hard as it's made out to be. So, and I think this year really illustrates that more than any other year prior, and it's already becoming more and more, flexible with how teams have bent it in years prior. Nonetheless, moving on to the Bengals at pick number 5. It's funny. I had Kyle Pitts a handful of mocks ago, and I was one of the first people to kind of think about how that would be a really good fit. And now, Daniel Jeremiah, speaking of him, he had it in his latest mock draft. A few others have had it, and I'm not saying it by any stretch of imagination. They saw my video and thought that I was onto something. More so, I think there's just a growing feel around the draft that Pitts is more than just a tight end. Honestly, if he was a wide receiver and he was just he left Florida and said, I want to be an X receiver, I'm done playing tight end, whatever, in this crazy hypothetical, you'd have to have a consideration between him or Jamar Chase for wide receiver 1. You really would. Chase gives you that more athletic upside because, pro day wise, he ran a 4.38. He high points the football. He's 6 foot, 205. I mean, he's just a beast. And then Kyle Pitts is someone completely different, 6'6", 245 or whatever he clocked in at his pro day, but still super athletic. And this could be Jamar Chase. The Bengals still have Auden Tate. A lot of people aren't considering him with that offense. So wide receiver group of Tate, Boyd, and Higgins, I think that's good enough, especially if you add Pitts into the mix. They run a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. You could even just use Pitts as that 3rd wide receiver. I think he'll be an animal in the red zone. I think you can split him out wide, play him in the slot, play him in line at tight end. The possibilities are endless, and he's certainly an upgrade over Drew Sample. So my guy Kyle Pitts, I got him going 5 to the Bengals, and then Jamar Chase is the next pick for the Miami Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are content with either Pitts or Chase. That's why they moved back up to 6. And they might even be okay with Penei Sewell, given the fact maybe they didn't know if the Falcons are going to go QB. Maybe they don't know. So if they don't, maybe one of those pass catchers is off the board, and then the other goes to the Bengals at 5. Therefore, you have to go Sewell, whatever the case may be. I think there's 3 players they're picking from: best offensive lineman, best wide receiver, versatile weapon who's a freak of nature, and Kyle Pitts. And in this case, I got him taking Jamar Chase. It's interesting to see how they'll play if they have Chase, Devontae Parker, and Will Fuller. Typically, all 3 have played on the outside. I think Chase is good enough to do both. Will Fuller is improving as a wide receiver, especially last year. I think he got better as a route runner, getting smarter, knowing how to get open. Maybe you could play him a little bit on the inside. I don't know. Maybe it's just a rotation between the 3. And then you have Jakeem Grant and Albert Wilson as your inside guys, especially Jakeem Grant. He started to get a lot of PT and a lot of reps towards the end of last season. Maybe he's your slot guy. But nonetheless, Chase is wide receiver 1 for me. And he's a beast. It's a position of need. Makes sense. We'll move on. And then here with the Lions, this could certainly be Jalen Waddle. And if you want to give them Waddle, I'm not going to knock it. There's no bad mock draft also. Like, anything could happen. I just think at this spot, with where the Lions are at in their rebuild, you take the best player available, and that's Penei Sewell. They have Taylor Decker, and Decker is getting better, and he's a promising left tackle. You could play Sewell at right tackle, or you could just kick him in to play left guard and really pave some holes on that left side of the line for DeAndre Swift and company. So I think he's too good of a player for the Lions to pass up at 7. There's also could be a trade down spot for them, especially with someone like Justin Fields potentially still on the board if Mac Jones goes 3. So I think the Lions, they've been rumored connected to QBs if the right guy falls to them. Maybe. I think that's more trying to boost the value of the 7th pick if they were to trade back, try to acquire more assets, and further boost their rebuild that way. But here at 7, you take Sewell, you have him and Decker bookend tackles, or Sewell goes inside and becomes a Pro Bowl level guard. And again, if you go wide receiver here, I don't hate it, but I'll come back to that here in 1 second. I'm actually going to make it back-to-back offensive linemen. The Panthers make the trade to get Sam Darnold. Previously, I had Mac Jones going right here at 8. That's obviously having to change a little bit. But Slater's a versatile offensive lineman. We all know everything he can do. Greg Little might be their guy at left tackle going into his 3rd year. Tend to see that's about when linemen take that next step up, go from struggling players to those who can become competent to plus level starters. I think Greg Little could be in line for one of those breakout chances, which, by the way, I'm going to do a top 10 breakout candidates for the 2021-2022 NFL season. So if you're looking forward to that, let me know in the comments section. I'm excited to make it. And Greg Little might be one of those guys on that list. Maybe he's ready. But you also only have Taylor Moton for 1 more year. He's playing on the franchise tag, so maybe Slater's your long-term right tackle. Maybe it doesn't work with Little and you sign Moton. Slater becomes your long-term left. Or, they are relying on Pat Elflein to play guard. I mean, there's an upgrade no matter what spot you want to put Slater at. He is a bump somewhere across the 5-man offensive line. So, best player available potentially in that spot, and definitely feels a big need for Carolina. Then we get to the Broncos at 9. And with Mac Jones still on the board, this is one where I really wrestled with, what are they doing? Well, this team feels really reluctant to provide too much of a competition for Drew Lock. Like, it feels like they don't want to be wrong. And the same can be said about the Giants at 11. They don't want to bring in somebody who's better or even just as good as who they have, because it showcases that they were wrong to put their eggs in one basket and have all that faith in that player. So I think Mac Jones makes sense here. Put him in a great situation. Awesome defense on their side of the ball and plenty of playmakers around him. I think they're going to roll out with Drew Lock. Well, I'm going to say that we'll come back to the QB position in round 2 with Denver, but in this case, I think they take a perfect scheme fit Micah Parsons. It's pretty much QB or Parsons for Denver, it seems like. I think Parsons is exactly what Vic Fangio is looking for. He can do a lot of different things, be a really versatile player, fill a lot of different roles, wear a lot of different hats, however you want to put it. I think he's a good fit for that defense. And then once you have Parsons off the board, maybe offensive tackle, Juwan James is okay at right tackle, but then that kind of takes away any sort of glaring needs. Parsons might also be a future edge guy, depending on Von Miller's future past this upcoming year. But nonetheless, that brings up interesting situations once we get to the second round with Denver. Then we get to the Cowboys at 10, and I think J.C. Horn rides the hype all the way up to CB1 in this class. He had an awesome pro day, and all the buzz is just lifting him higher and higher and higher. Caleb Farley's fallen because of the second back surgery. Patrick Surtain also had a good pro day. He didn't do anything wrong, but I think Horn might be a little bit better of a scheme fit. I don't know. With corners, it can be fluid. If you're a good football player, you'll make it work. And with these first-round guys, they're good football players. They're going to work. So I think J.C. Horton's getting hot at the right time. Dan Quinn has run a lot of cover one, so man press. Horn certainly fits that. But him or Surtain here are interchangeable. And where I have Surtain going, it could be Horn all the same. Makes a ton of sense either way you look at it. Then we get to the Giants here at 11. Edge is certainly a need. Maybe it's a Jalen Phillips. Maybe it's an Azeez Ojulari. I wouldn't knock it if you went that route, but I got to go Jalen Waddle here. You have Sterling Shepard, but he's only under contract for one more year. Everybody's saying he's going to be better in the slot. I don't disagree with that. I think that is where he has had the most success. And then if Darius Slayton is your rationale to not take Jalen Waddle, who is just Darius Slayton with the upgrade button across the board, then you're crazy. Why not get the better version of Darius Slayton if he falls due at 11 and just really open up this offense? You have Kenny Golladay, Jalen Waddle, then you still have players like Shepard and then you still have players like Shepard and Slayton as well, and Evan Ingram at tight end. So Galladay's coming off a year where he had injuries. Waddle was hurt last year at Alabama, so maybe it's good that they have a fourth wide receiver in the mix, trying to rotate guys in, limit snaps, prevent injuries, yada, yada, yada. But Waddle's just a stud here, and he's probably the best player on the board. Maybe this is a team that should look at Mac Jones, consider it, I don't know. I am unconvinced that Daniel Jones has proven to be a franchise QB. Giants fans, let me know what you think. But I think Waddle's a stud. Great asset to the offense. Getting the ball in open space. He'll do a lot, make the game easy for Daniel Jones. He can also be a field stretcher, of course, with fantastic speed. So going back to what I said about Carolina here at 8, or excuse me, the Lions here at 7. If you wanted to give them Waddle, okay, then I'd say Sewell goes 8, and then Slater falls here to 11. So I think here, the same group of players, maybe it's Surtain instead of Horton, but that's a different note, but between Waddle, Slater, Sewell, I see them all off the board by 11. Maybe the order's just a touch different. Then we get to the Philadelphia Eagles at 12. This could be a Micah Parsons spot if he falls here. But I'm going to go ahead and give him Devonta Smith. I think they're looking for a separator on offense, someone to make the game a little easier for Jalen Hurts, as they're going to, put the chips in the middle of the board for a full season for Jalen Hurts and see what he's all about. Is he a franchise guy? To get a true test, take away any excuses, you got to at least give him one wide receiver one. I think Rager is going to be better next year, but Devonta Smith will make it easier for both Hurts and Rager, for that matter. Great separator. You only worry about his frame, but if that's the knock on him, take it somewhere else. There is no reason to say that it's going to slow him down. He broke his thumb, dislocated his thumb. That is not a result of being 175 pounds. He can separate. He's got great hands, very good after the catch. Trust the tape. Smith a stud. Moving on to the Chargers at 13, I'm going to stick with Christian Darrisaw. Better run blocker than pass blocker, but given his athletic, frame and his build and how he plays on tape, I think he's going to get there and become a really good pass blocker and complement himself as already a run block mauler. And it's a huge area of need. You need that left tackle for the Chargers. So protect Justin Herbert with his stud in his own right and Christian Darrisaw. I've had this in other mocks, so I won't talk about it for so long. Then we get to the Vikings, and hey, you know what? Mac Jones is not going to fall this far on the board, but if Mac Jones was here at 14, it'd be warranted a conversation within their draft room. I'm not going to put it here. I'm going to go with Elijah Vera Tucker, but I tell you what, I would love to go with one of these edge guys. Jalen Phillips would be in great consideration too. Azeez Ojulari would be good, but Kwity Paye, Jason Owe feel like Vikings. They value that 3-cone, that sub-7 3-cone, especially, and if you're a PFF guy, you know this, you've heard this before, but Paye and Owe would be fantastic complement opposite of Danielle Hunter. You just signed Alvin Tomlinson. You have Michael Pierce, at least for 1 year, as he's coming back from opting out. And then that front rush is just insane. But I think they're going to hold on to Hunter. I don't buy into the trade rumors. You got Tomlinson, who has some pass rush upside. And then they're going to roll out with some of the young players who got a lot of playing time last year. And you got to address the offensive line, man. I mean, it's especially at left tackle with Riley Reef gone, it's a huge hole. Maybe Ezra Cleveland's going to kick back out. I don't know. There's plenty of people I've talked to who are unimpressed with his play at guard last year, so maybe Vera Tucker's just a plug and play, a little bit smaller left tackle, but you trust the tape there from USC, or he plays on the interior and you just really make that the point of emphasis for this team moving forward, trying to create a bunch of open holes up the middle for Dalvin Cook, let him get to the second level and let him be Dalvin Cook, you know? So Vera Tucker's just too big of a need that he would fill to ignore it. I'd love to go edge rusher here, but I got to go AVT. Then we get to the Pats. Mac Jones has not fallen to 15. I'm not doing trades in this, but say there was, maybe the Pats move up to 7. Maybe even Carolina's looking to get some of the assets back they gave up to get Sam Darnold, so they trade back from 8. I could see that. But Mac Jones is not going to last on the board till 15. There's too much buzz around him right now. But in this mock draft, predict a pick, I'm going to say he ends up in New England, and that's kind of how we'll swing it. Then we get to the Cardinals at 16. They get blessed with Patrick Surtain fallen. Surtain could also go to the Chargers here at 13. I just think you can't ignore tackle. This is a deep tackle class, but a lot of the guys later on the board are players like Liam Eichenberg, who people are like, his arm's too small, he'll have to play guard. Ray Dunce, inside-out versatility. Leatherwood, could be a good tackle, probably better at a guard. Same thing with Mayfield. And then you get the guys like Brady Christensen and Stone Forsythe, Walker Little, who I think eventually could be good left tackles. Christensen's got the athletic build. We'll talk about him later on, but I'm kind of rambling here. But I think you got to go offensive tackle, and Darrisaw's a stud. Take the value there, then go corner or defense in general in round number 2. I digress. Raiders on the board at 17. I think Tevin Jenkins is too good of a fit to pass up here. Plug and play, put him in at right tackle. You reestablish a really solid part of your team, though with some new faces and a new look to it of sorts from last year. But Jenkins is going to be a mauler. I'd love to see him clear the way for Josh Jacobs. Then we get to the Miami Dolphins at 18. And this is a really tough one. I really could see Zaven Collins going here. He could be somebody who fills, 2 holes with 1 pick. He can be a middle linebacker of the future. You only have Benardrick McKinney for 1 year, but he can also be an edge rusher. I'm going to stick with who I had previously in Azeez Ojulari. I think he's a fantastic fit on the edge. And Zaven Collins, come back to it, I think could still fit with Azeez Ojulari still taken here. But Collins is getting a lot of buzz, and I could see him going as high as 18. I really could. But you're going to see I have him falling into the second round just because this draft class has 40, 45 first-round potential players and only 32 picks to give them out. So it's obviously tough, but I'm going to go with Azeez Ojulari there for Miami. Get him an edge rusher. They might, again, we'll talk about Collins later, but Andrew Van Ginkel might not be the answer at the other outside linebacker position. Therefore, you need another edge. So on to the Washington football team at 19. I'm staying pat here with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Defended the slot really well at Notre Dame, kind of that overhang defender. He could be an in-the-box safety. You also only have or well, I shouldn't say only have, but you have Landon Collins under contract, but next year you could cut him and save, I believe it's $8 million. There's a little bit of a penalty, but it's $8 million differential between the penalty and what his salary is, so maybe Joke is just your Landon Collins replacement. Collins battles injuries a lot, and he's way better in the box than he has as a deep safety. So maybe Joke is just a Collins replacement, or maybe you keep them both. And you play them both in the box as much as you can. The pieces are there, and it's a really good defense already. You add Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who just takes away tight ends, can defend the slot, super rangy. He's a thumper, too. Don't let his 215 frame, 216, whatever he clocked in at Notre Dame's Pro Day, don't let that size fool you. He will eat up blocks. He'll be aggressive, head to the hole, make hard contact. He's a linebacker, or he's an in-the-box safety. He is what you want at that position in 2021 NFL football. On to the Bears at 20. Thought about wide receiver here. I just think you got to go tackle. And this doesn't necessarily have to be Sam Cosmi. I think Jalen Mayfield's still a first-round guy. Eichenberg, Radunz. I'm going to go Cosmi. I don't see him as a guard like Mel Kiper. He's just too big. Also, his tape does not lead me to believe he needs to move from tackle. So you go ahead and you take Cosmi. You let go of Charles Leno or Bobby Massey. Save some cap. I don't know how much they can do with it now, but nonetheless, Cosmi is your answer moving forward. And plus, if you have Andy Dalton under center, you already have a fair amount of weapons around him. You could use a wide receiver here, but I think as much as Dalton needs weapons, he needs time in the pocket. So Cosmi, a clear upgrade at left tackle. On to the Colts at 21. Speaking of tackle, they could definitely use one. Their rumors are they might move Nelson out to left tackle. I don't know, but I think tackle might end up being a day 2 pick for this team. Instead, they go get a freak edge rusher in Jalen Phillips, who awesome pro day at Miami, really stole the show and solidified his position inside the first round. Like, no doubt about it. Jalen Phillips, first round pick. Great upside, super athletic guy. The tape speaks for itself. You only worry about those concussions. And, you know, they can be a reoccurring injury and a common theme, but nonetheless, if you're just talking about a football player, Phillips is better than 21 in this class. I mean, the guy's awesome. Just watch the tape. It's fantastic. And you can see why he was a top recruit coming out of high school. UCLA liked him a lot. But put it together at Miami. If he can stay healthy, the Colts get a big-time upgrade at edge. And, you know, honestly, one edge rusher might not be enough for that team. Then we get to the Titans at 22. I'm going to go ahead and go Terrence Marshall here. Talk about a good pro day. 4'3", 6'4" frame. A little bit bigger than somebody they have when it comes to height. A.J. Brown is a really solid built 6'1". But Terrence Marshall is that Corey Davis replacement. Has downfield speed. Really fluid route runner. Smooth to watch on tape. That's always been my word to describe him. Smooth. It's easy to watch Terrence Marshall Jr. And then I think you're going to address corner in round 2 if you're Tennessee. On to the Jets at 23. And I had previously been going Greg Newsome, but I actually think I'm going to go Caleb Farley. My rationale being, you hit on Zach Wilson, obviously, with the second pick. Barring him just all of a sudden becoming a bust. You have a QB, and no matter what, this first round is successful. Now you have this second first-round pick you got from Seattle. Why not be aggressive? Why not get the guy who, with no injuries, probably CB1, at worst CB2 in this class, but because he had back surgery, he's fallen on boards. Why not be aggressive and go out there and make a play, take a risk? You already have a franchise QB. It's already a successful round 1. Be risky. Take Caleb Farley. If he stays healthy, you might have just gotten the best corner of the draft. If he doesn't, you know, that definitely sucks. You'd hate to waste a first-round pick, but it's still the draft. You got Zach Wilson, so it wasn't a total disaster. So I had been going Newsome, but I think that rationale talked me into the Jets taking Caleb Farley at 23. On to pick number 24. This is my favorite team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's by far the one that I have spent the most time thinking about. As much as I want to go tackle, I am starting to get the feeling that Pittsburgh is okay going with Chukwuma Okorafor. He's going into his 3rd year. That's about the point we see these tackles take that next step up. Think DJ Humphries and a few other players along those lines. Sometimes tackles take a little bit longer to develop, especially somebody like Chugs, who was taken to be a developmental tackle. Maybe he's ready to be left tackle of the future for Pittsburgh, and I think Zach Banner is going to be a good right tackle. It just makes the position really thin, but then you could go get a swing guy maybe in round 3 or 4 maybe. So I'd love to go Jalen Mayfield, maybe Liam Eichenberg, even Alex Leatherwood, Dylan Radunz. There's a lot of guys I'd like here, but I really think they're going to focus on center. And this might even end up being a Najee Harris spot. I just don't see them going running back round 1. So I'm going to go Landon Dickerson. He's that Marquise Pouncey replacement, and really, Pouncey was really bad last year. And he is one of the most accomplished Steelers of all time, and over the last decade, one of the most consistently good Steelers on the roster. And I loved him, but last year he was just bad. Like, he objectively wasn't good. You go back to the Browns playoff game, and number of those 3rd and 4th and shorts, there's no push at the center position. Marquise Pouncey was making no difference, and we couldn't convert. If Landon Dickerson can be what he was at Alabama, and, anywhere near as good as Marquise Pouncey was at his prime, it boosts the running game so much by just getting push up the middle. And I don't know, they might go running back round 2, but Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland might be a good enough tandem. Snell's going into year 3, McFarland into year 2. You got to think they're going to continue to get better. So maybe running back isn't even that big of a position of need in their eyes. But we'll talk about that once we get to round 2. But I have Landon Dickerson going here, 24 to the Steelers. And that's about as early as I'd see him go. And really, that's about the only team I'd see him taking him in the first round, at least here in the back half. On to the Jacksonville Jaguars at 25. I want to stick to this pick, Trevon Moehrig. Dude's just a freak. Best free or strong safety in the class. He can do it all. I don't mean to keep droning on about how good he is, but we're going to talk about some other safeties in this video, which I'm excited about. And then because Jalen Phillips went to the Colts, Kwity Paye falls to the lap of the Cleveland Browns. Edge rusher opposite of Myles Garrett. You can also have Takk McKinley be a rotation guy. I like that a lot. Then we get to the Baltimore Ravens with pick number 27. Just because edge is such a big need, I think Jason Owe makes a ton of sense, and maybe they're not even rushing to get him on the field. I think the more reps he gets, the better he'll be. The QB pressures were there at Penn State, just not the sacks, but you still have Pernell McPhee. You obviously re-signed Tyus Bowser. You don't need to play him day 1. I think he should play over Pernell McPhee, or maybe the two rotate off and have an even split. But nonetheless, Owe has a ton of upside, and it's a huge position to need. You got to find a long-term answer there if you're Baltimore. It's kind of one of those teams that linebackers has been a staple of their success. You think Steelers, you think linebacking core a lot of the time. If you think Ravens, Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, maybe Jason Owe is one of those next great linebackers for Baltimore. Then we get to the Saints at 28. This is where I had Farley going originally, but because the Jets took him, I'll have Greg Newsome basically trading spots and falling to 28 to the Saints. They need corner desperately. Marshawn Lattimore's great, but he also just had like mugshots, depending on what comes of his, off the field activities. They might be looking for CB1, let alone CB2. So I definitely think corner's a round 1 priority here for New Orleans. Then we get to the Packers at 29, and this is another team I'm going to have them go in corner. Kevin King he ain't it, man. Like, I don't think he's that good. There's a lot of Packers fans who will defend him, and Tyson Campbell's getting buzz at the right time. I think he has that tall frame that the Packers are looking for, would fit well in his zone defense, and he's getting buzz. I think he sneaks in late round 1, to Green Bay. So next up is the Buffalo Bills at 30. I think you go upside here in Gregory Rousseau. This could definitely be Ronnie Perkins, maybe Joe Tryon. Tryon's who Daniel Jeremiah had going to the Bills here. But I'm going to go Rousseau. Kind of a flat pro day. He showed off his frame, and really his frame, more than his athleticism, was the only positive to come out of it, because the athletic drills were not great. So he went from this guy, we saw him as this awesome athlete, raw player, to where it's just like, he's raw, not as good an athlete as we thought, just has an awesome frame. But in a 4-3 defense with Buffalo, I like him potentially on 3rd down and long, passing situation in general, kicking inside, being a rush tackle, having success at Miami on the interior. I think that's a good fit in a 4-3. You also have A.J. Epineza there in Buffalo, so 2 young guys who are projects in their own right. So maybe it's not right now that the 2 of them make a huge impact for Buffalo, but maybe it's in the years coming. Chiefs at 31. I think Rashad Bateman's too good to pass on here. Demarcus Robinson's back on a 1-year contract. And overall, you're looking for a long-term answer. Bateman can be that prototypical X-possession receiver, right what this offense needs moving forward. And Bateman's just a stud. Weighed in and was heighted a little smaller than what we had anticipated at Minnesota's Pro Day. But nonetheless, you trust the tape. He's just great. He can do a lot of things really, really well at the next level. We get to the Bucs at 32. I'm sticking with Christian Barmore. I don't even know if Barmore's on the board by 32. He's a really good football player, and he tore it up at the end of the college football season into the college football playoff. So I don't know if he's on the board at 32, but if he is, the Bucs should rush the card in. Then we get to round 2, and we'll go through this a little quicker. I realize this might be a little bit longer, and I might be joining on some picks, but just kind of want to talk about each team and why I think the way I do. So with the Jags at 33, I think here you have to go offensive line. Ray Dunce or Eichenberg. I'm going to go Ray Dunce here just because I think given the arm length, he has more potential to play on the outside, which, by the way, Eichenberg's arms a little less than 33 inches. Only one player in the NFL who started last year with sub 33-inch arms. That was Braden Smith, who is a darn good right tackle for the Indianapolis Colts. So, Eichenberg's pretty close. I don't think that takes him off the board in the sense of being a potential tackle down the line. He might have to go inside and play guard, but I think Eichenberg's still a stud. On to the Jets at 34. Got that 4-3 defense, need edge. This could definitely be Joe Tryon. I think I'm going to go Ronnie Perkins, though. Kind of like the fit. I don't think Oklahoma was using him to his fullest potential. Fits an area of need, can be that D-end opposite of Carl Lawson. So yeah, I'm going to go Ronnie Perkins there to the Jets at 34. That's a tough pick to mock, just because they could go in 1,000 different directions. Then we get to the Atlanta Falcons at 35. I think you can't ignore running back much longer. I don't even know if Najee Harris, Etienne, and Williams all make it to the second round. One of them probably goes in the first. I don't know. I don't know if teams are off the running backs can go in the first round notion. With Etienne at 35, you get the Lightning to Mike Davis's Thunder, completes the backfield. Also, I like the idea of those two getting a fair amount of snaps together. You don't want to wear off the treads too quickly with Etienne, but we know running the ball is a big part of Arthur Smith's offensive philosophy, so Etienne, I think, is a really quality second-round pick for Atlanta. Then we get to the Dolphins at 36, and I'm going to make it back-to-back running backs to make up for lost time. One of these guys has got to go in the first round. I think one of them gets in. But Najee Harris is just an absolute tank. He's my running back one. Him, Etienne, and Williams are all very close. Actually, I'd have it Harris, Williams, Etienne. All three are fantastic players and can be bell cow running backs for a franchise. It just depends on your flavor. What are you in the mood for at the running back position? So Harris at 36 to the Dolphins. Then we get to the Eagles at 37. They took receiver in round 1. Then you get Eric Stokes. Fantastic value in round 2. You get a receiver, you get a corner. Things are moving in the right direction for Philly. Bengals back on the clock, and part of the reason I didn't go Penei Sewell is you got Riley Reiff, 1-year deal. You could definitely draft a replacement. Don't let that get in the way. But Reiff at right tackle, I think they really want to play Jonah Williams at left, so they could go Penei Sewell, but I think more the need now is on the interior. So I'd go after a guy like Creed Humphrey. Could be the center of the future, could play guard. You can move Hopkins from center over to guard if Humphrey has to play center. Overall, I think it's the interior now that you focus on. They might need tackle next year, depending if they bring Riley Reiff back, depending on how he plays. Plenty of variables. But I'd almost prefer them go get playmaker at 5. I like Kyle Pitts for him. Then go IOL round 2. Back on the board is Carolina. You see that number 1 need left after offensive tackle corner. I'm going to kind of cheat here. I like Donta Jackson. Rashawn Melvin's an okay, fine player. Troy Pride might end up, take another step forward. But Javon Holland could be a nickel corner or just an over-the-top safety. Jeremy Chin's fantastic, but he's more of an in-the-box. It's kind of that Derwin James type of player. Holland can be that center fielder. Let him just read QB's eyes, make plays in the deep blue or, deep halves, whatever, defensive play is called on a given down. Or he could be your nickel corner. Holland gives you a ton of versatility. His drive on the football, he's a turnover machine, and I love him. I think he's a round 1 caliber guy. I had him at safety 1 all the way until, I don't know, maybe a month, 2 months ago when I had to give in Trevon Moehrig. Fantastic, but that's not to say Holland is not a stud in his own right. Then we get to the Broncos here at 40, right? So, talked earlier, I like Parsons at 9. I think it's a perfect scheme fit, and it takes off the last big, like, we need this position. After that, you could go tackle. If Dylan Radunz is on the board still, I think he's a good fit. He could be your right tackle. Juwan James has kind of been less than impressive. He's also battled a ton of injuries. Could be Liam Eichenberg. The interior has been so-so. They're still looking for better play there from guys like Dalton Reisner. Maybe Cushenberry can take a step forward year 2. But all that to say, those needs don't outweigh the need of a QB or the idea that, okay, we brought in a QB, we've done our job. We created competition for Drew Lock, but it's a second round pick. There's a different notion between drafting a QB in the first and the second round. First, you get that 5th-year option, and then also, if you use a first-round pick, it's saying this guy's a part of our long-term future. That is your commitment. Second-round pick, a lot of the same could be said, but if it doesn't work out, the error, the cost, that backlash is a lot smaller. And George Patton has focused heavily on improving the defense, so I think he'll continue to do that with Micah Parsons. But here, with no other huge needs, it could be offensive line, but I think this is where Denver brings in the competition for Drew Lock. Davis Mills climbing up boards, former highly ranked recruit out of high school, only 460 snaps, I think it was, of game time at Stanford, so he's still super raw, but there's a lot about him that, he checks a lot of boxes. And I wouldn't be surprised if Denver pulled the trigger here in round 2, and then that became the competition moving forward. I know they took Locke in the second round, and obviously that hasn't worked out all that great, but if, Locke doesn't continue to be the answer, maybe midway through the year, you see what Mills has got, and at least then you're starting on a fresher rookie contract moving forward as well. Locke is about to be in year 3 out of 4. Mills is going to be a rookie. So you kind of reset that timetable and allows you to keep a really good roster around if you decide to move with Mills after Locke. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. I just don't know if the Broncos are a team that wants to go QB round 1. I could definitely be wrong, but as I'm recording this, I don't think they want to make that big of a push at the QB position and put that much pressure on Drew Lock. They want to be right on Lock in my eyes. Anyways, I digress. Moving on to the Detroit Lions, and I'm going to have them go wide receiver. Kadarius Toney's a stud. Elijah Moore's fantastic. I like a lot of these guys, but another one of those hot names right now, De'Ami Brown. And I've always liked him. I have a couple friends who are UNC fans, so I always watch Tar Heel games. I'm a Notre Dame fan myself, but De'Ami Brown's a stud. The knock on him is like his route tree isn't, super branched out, no pun intended. He doesn't have a whole lot that you see on tape like, wow, he can run this post, he can run this 10 and out, he can run a curl, he can run a comeback, he can run this in, whatever. Not with like guys like Rashad Bateman and Terrence Marshall and all these other guys, but that's because you look at UNC, go put on the tape, it's because Sam Howell could throw it further than everyone, and De'Ami Brown can outrun just about anybody. This dude is super explosive, dynamic, and from what I've seen on tape, I don't see why he couldn't gain a route tree. Not everybody can become a better polished route runner and add routes to their tree. I think De'Ami Brown can, given the right coaching staff. And in Detroit, I think this is very much going to be a slow rebuild. Take their time with this, and I think they're going to spend as much time as they can to develop De'Ami Brown into a wide receiver 1. I think Brown could end up sneaking into late round 1. Like if the Packers took him at 29, I might love that pick. I really could. So I think this is wide receiver 1 of the future for Detroit. Love him here at 41, though there are a bunch of other great options on the board, and I can't take that away. Moving on to the Giants, I'm going to have him go Joseph Ossai here, outside linebacker this past year at Texas. Had moments you really liked. Also has experience as an inside linebacker, so provides some versatility there and can kind of fit whatever need the Giants have moving forward. Next up, the 49ers. IOL is a position of need, but I think they have it patched up well enough right now. You only have Alex Mack for 1 year, but let that be next offseason's problem. I think you go out there and you get a potential CB1 in Kelvin Joseph. A lot to like from his athletic, build, good frame. Scouts at his pro day had him at a 4.3-ish, even though Kentucky, was saying like 4.2 or whatever. But given that size, that athletic ability, and really good tape, I like that pick a lot. The 49ers did bring back Jason Verrett, but that's just a one-year deal. They have Mosley back. That's a 2-year contract. Quan Williams, I think, is just a 1-year deal. Maybe it's 2. Nonetheless, they're looking for a long-term answer, and I think Joseph can provide an answer to that question. Then you get to the Cowboys at 44. This could definitely be swing player. Alex Leatherwood, Jalen Mayfield, Liam Eichenberg. I think Mayfield's a first-round guy. I don't even know if he's on the board at this point, but one of those guys who, depending on Collins and Tyron Smith's injury status, they can fill in. They did sign Tiny Sheik, and I think he fills that role. So given that point, I'm going to have him going Levi Onwuzurike. This is what I've had the past couple of mocks I've done. They need that interior disruptor. Onwuzurike can certainly be that, so we won't talk about it for too long. Next up, the final pick the Jaguars have here in round number 2. They're 4th overall. I mean, we got him a QB of the future, an offensive lineman. We got him a stud safety, and here I'm going to give him a playmaking tight end. Get him another weapon for Trevor Lawrence. Big upgrade over Tyler Eifert and Freiermuth before Kyle Pitts went berserk. He was tight end 1, and he did not have a disappointing year per se. Kyle Pitts is just ridiculous, you know? So Freiermuth to the Jags like that fit a lot. They could also be a team that's in on Zach Ertz if he were to become available via trade or whatever. Next up, the New England Patriots. This could definitely be corner. It looks like they're going to end up holding on to J.C. Jackson. I felt like they might have wanted a team to put in an offer so they could get a second-round pick for him. And, you know, Gilmore is on the trade block. They either want to extend or trade him. Kind of really polarizing options. But I'm going to go ahead and give him a linebacker here. Jamin Davis, much like his Kentucky counterpart, Kelvin Joseph, flying up boards. Davis might be a first-round guy. Awesome size, great athletic build. The knock on him, why did it take so long for him to become a starter at Kentucky? And I'm pretty sure he became a starter this past year because of an injury. And the guy who was, ahead of him on the depth chart. But hey, I get that's a knock, but he also took advantage of the playing time he got. So give credit where credit is due. I think that'd be a fantastic fit for New England. Chargers at 47. I've really thought about corner, and I think Asante Samuel Jr. could fit. Be that press man that, Jalen Ramsey-like type of guy that Coach Staley might be looking for. I'm going to give him a versatile edge rusher, though. Joe Tryon. They're going to be a base 3-4, but Staley mixes it up a lot. And I think Tryon gives him a good edge option as a replacement to Melvin Ingram. Have him juxtaposed to Joey Bosa. I think it's a really solid fit, especially considering they didn't go corner round 1. I think that should be a position that's, in consideration here in round 2. And maybe they're waiting until, round 3. But a perimeter corner could definitely do them well. But I just think Tryon gives them the versatility as an edge rusher. Can fit a lot of different schemes that Brandon Staley wants to use. Next up, the Raiders are on the clock at 48. It says linebacker is a position in need. Kwiatkowski was okay. Corey Littleton, I think, still serves a purpose. I'm going to give him a center fielder for that cover 3 defense. I think Gus Bradley will love Richie Grant as a deep free safety. This also is a team that could go like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in the first round. Therefore, safety is not really as big of a need in the second round, and they could use Joke as like a Derwin James type of player, strong safety in the front box, or use him as a Derwin James type of player, putting him in the box near the line of scrimmage. I could see that. But with them taking Tevin Jenkins in this mock in round 1, I think Richie Grant is a free-roaming, free safety. Then you move Jonathan Abrams to that strong safety spot in and around the line of scrimmage. And then that defense starting to make steps in the right direction. Still could use some cornerbacks, but nonetheless, big progress, and that's a team that could compete. And honestly, I mean, that's a really good AFC West, but they could turn heads. With Jenkins and then Grant, if they're immediate impact type of guys, they could turn heads. Next up, the Cardinals back on the clock at 49, and this could certainly be running back. Like if they went Javonte Williams and he was the power back to Chase Edmonds, pass catching, more of a elusive guy, I think that's a really nice compliment. I think Edmonds fits for what Cliff Kingsbury wants in a running back, and I also think there's tremendous value. I think if they're going to go running back later, maybe Michael Carter falls to him in the 3rd round. I'm not entirely sure about that. Kenneth Gainwell, though, big body guy, provides power. I like him a lot. And also Trey Sermon, man. If you were to give them Sermon with Edmonds, that'd be fantastic. Or even Stevenson from Oklahoma. If you're a fan of the Goat House, watch one of his sleeper videos, ones that he just put out. That's a great video. And Stevenson was one of those guys who has a big body build, but acts and thinks of himself as a small, shifty guy, and it works out in his favor because of that. So I think there's just options at running back later on for Arizona, and this could be IOL, trying to find some younger options, cheaper options, but I really love the idea of Milton Williams in that defense. Freak athlete. When you look at Milton Williams on like the relative athletic score, it's unbelievable. He is crazy high on that ranking, and that's like edge rushers of all time, and he's more of an interior guy versus an edge. I encourage you to go check that out. It's wild. And we'll talk about one other guy who's just a freak in that RAS ranking system. But Milton Williams, this team has Richard Gary, I think, as their starting defensive tackle. Yeah, Milton Williams is a day one upgrade at that position. Huge frame, will eat up blocks, help in the run game, but also just an interior force. Help the likes of J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones, Marcus Golden create more pressure, especially considering I know I had him go corner in round one, but that secondary is still not fantastic. It's definitely getting better, especially if they get a CB in the first round. This could be a wide receiver spot, especially if somebody who can operate over the middle of the field like a Kadarius Toney. I think that's a great fit. I think if you go Milton Williams here after going Surtain in round one, you put together a really solid defense. You know the offense is going to put up points, but then you have a defense on its own that could win some games for you. So that's how you compete. And you got to keep in mind, they're going to face the Rams twice a year. They're going to face the Seahawks twice a year, the 49ers twice a year. You're going to want a good pass rush and want Williams, Chandler Jones, Marcus Golden if you want to bunch him into that group. That's how you'll beat those three other teams in your division, slow down their offenses. Enough of that tangent. The Dolphins back on the clock at 50. Man, this is such a tough spot to fill. This has got to be Zaven Collins. Honestly, I probably should have given them Zaven Collins with their earlier second round pick, just because there's no way he's staying on the board till 50, and I admit it. There's just no way. One of these teams, maybe the Patriots at 46, maybe the Chargers at 47. Maybe I should have done that, but nonetheless, even the Dolphins here at 36 should really heavily consider Zaven Collins. He could be a Mike linebacker of the future, the replacement of Benardrick McKinney, or if Andrew Van Ginkel isn't the answer on a full-time basis, right? Like he had 5.5 sacks last year, but he was a rotational guy. There's no guarantee that's going to translate to him being a full-time starter, giving you full-time starter results and stats. So Zaven Collins could be the answer if Van Ginkel is not. Definitely not going to fall to 50, but that's too good of a value there, and I had to give the Dolphins him in this mock draft. With pick number 51, the Washington football team is on the clock, and this has got to be offensive tackle. Also, a nod to Kellen Mond, QB project of the future. I really wouldn't hate that, but I think left tackle is a huge need for them. And in this spot, I'm going to go ahead and give him Jalen Mayfield again. I don't know if he's going to fall this far, but absolute run mauler. They need a left tackle. I don't know if Mayfield's there day one at left tackle, but nonetheless, I think they can get creative and find a way, get him on the field, and they want to run the football. That's Ron Rivera's MO. He wants to run the football, play good defense. Mayfield's going to be able to help you do that. And then, off play action, you have Fitzpatrick do his thing and hopefully limit turnovers, not put your defense in a bad spot. Bears back on the clock at 52. Okay, back to the QBs. I think this is a Kyle Trask spot. Maybe Kellen Mond. Maybe Davis Mills if he's still on the board. I think Mills definitely would be somebody they target if he's still on the board at 52. But since he's not, let's give him somebody who's close. That tall frame, Kyle Trask. Not a whole lot that he does off script when the play breaks down, and he's not very mobile. But we've seen QBs make it work in the past, and maybe Kyle Trask gains that football IQ. I mean, he's already a smart kid. I don't want to slander him by any stretch of the imagination, but what separated Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and those type of guys, just their next level. They're big brain, and Kyle Trask maybe with the right coaching can get there, and with enough weapons around him, maybe he's better than Andy Dalton by the midseason point. I don't know, but QB is definitely something they have to address. They overpaid for Andy Dalton, and I'm not sure next offseason presents a whole lot of better options. Aaron Rodgers might be out and available, maybe, slim chance, but maybe. But the Packers are not going to give him up to a division rival. And maybe Russell Wilson's available, but it would take a haul to bring Russell to Chi-Town. Plus, also, I don't know, maybe they manage that. That's banking on something that might not happen. Probably won't happen. At least at this point, I'd say probably doesn't happen. Nonetheless, Kyle Trask here at 52. Let me know if you think the Bears get a QB in this draft, or a legitimate QB of the future. If they go QB in the 7th round, I don't want to hear it. But anyways, the Titans, 53. You got to go cornerback here. Really like Asante Samuel Jr. for this defense. You bring in Janoris Jenkins, kind of signal to me they want to run some more man coverage. Asante Samuel, obviously, Mike Vrabel played with his dad, Asante Samuel, up in New England. So you get his son. I think that's an awesome storyline as well. Also fills a area of need. Next up on the clock is the Indianapolis Colts. And I really would love to give them Alex Leatherwood in the spot. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it. I think Leatherwood can play tackle. A lot of people talk about him playing guard. I think he can be a tackle, and especially in this situation. They've talked about moving Quentin Nelson from left guard to left tackle. I get that. But if you get Leatherwood at left tackle, Nelson stays at left guard, I think they are strong enough as a duo. That's not necessarily how it works on the offensive line. It's a one-on-one kind of thing, but I think with Nelson next to him, I am way more comfortable with Leatherwood at left tackle. Also, just put on the tape. Like, watch him create huge running lanes for Najee Harris at Alabama. And if they play him at left tackle, have Quentin Nelson next to him, with Jonathan Taylor behind him, good things are going to come. So I am not worried about Alex Leatherwood. I think he can be a left tackle, especially in this spot. I think it's a good fit in Indianapolis. Next up is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Had him go Landon Dickerson in round 1. And I know I said I'm not sure they want to go running back, but if Javonte Williams is here at 55, which I'm not sure he is, I really don't know. I'm up 50-50 if he's there at 55. But if he's on the board, the Steelers should really consider it, especially if they go Dickerson round 1, improve that interior of the offensive line. I think they like the idea of Chugs playing left tackle with Banner at right tackle. So in their minds, maybe they're saying, boom, we got a new center. Let's go get a stud running back. And Javonte Williams is definitely that. The dude's a bulldozer. He's not going to be somebody who breaks off the 80-yard runs like a Travis Etienne, much more in the likes of Najee Harris, where it's 4 or 5 yards at a time. But look at Pittsburgh. I mean, Jerome Bettis is that type of dude, and maybe Williams is bust 2.0. Or maybe the Steelers go Najee Harris in round 1. Maybe he's bust 2.0. I just don't know if they go RB in round 1. But if Williams is available at 55, I really would love to see the Steelers pull the trigger. This could still be tackle, though. Speaking of tackle, with the Seahawks on the clock at 56, Liam Eichenberg has fallen enough. I think he could be a plug-and-play right tackle. We talked about Braden Smith being one of those, or the only tackle to play with sub-33-inch arms. He's at right tackle. Maybe Eichenberg is that answer. They definitely have that position value of need. Also, Gabe Jackson is a little bit older, so maybe Eichenberg's just a long-term starter at right guard. Definitely some flexibility there, and I like the fit a lot for Seattle. And speaking of offensive line, that's where I'm going to be sticking, though I'm going to go to the interior here for the Rams. This could be Wyatt Davis, but Quinn Miners, again, getting hot at the right time. D3, hot story from the Senior Bowl, had a fantastic pro day. He dominated players at Wisconsin Whitewater, but is it is it because he's better than D3 comp? Then he goes bullies people at Senior Day, and you're like, okay, well, that caught my eye. And then you see his pro day, and it's like he's also a great athlete. So everything's checking. I've even heard, I don't know how much I buy it, but I've heard could sneak into late round 1. I'm not there yet, but round 2, I'm all for a team pulling the trigger. Austin Blythe signed with Kansas City. This is a team that needs a center. Quinn Miners might be plug and play. Put him in the lineup. He's your starting center. But he also just might be a long-term replacement there on the interior. And this is a team that doesn't have first-round picks the next 2 years, so take advantage, get cheap starters where you can. Moving to the Baltimore Ravens, I went edge in round 1. They signed Sammy Watkins, but it's a 1-year deal, and he's often hurt, which sucks to say. But Nico Collins had an awesome pro day, and he's just that huge body this team needs. 6'4", 215. They don't have that big body guy. Go move the chains, make those contested catches. Nico Collins can be that guy. It also gives me shades of Miles Boykin. And he got in the end zone a couple times towards the end of the year, and his play was a little better. But if you're a Ravens fan, you're probably not a huge Miles Boykin guy. Nico Collins might be an opportunity to right that wrong, have him develop in what maybe the Ravens originally saw in Boykin. And also, he might just be somebody who plays a lot if Sammy Watkins gets hurt or deals with any sort of injury. So I like Nico Collins. There's a ton of good wide receivers. You might not even have to take a player right here, right now at that spot. Maybe it's safety, but I think Nico Collins is what this Ravens offense needs moving forward. Now on to the Cleveland Browns at 59. I really want to go Davion Nixon here. Interior disruptor, coming off being Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's a stud, and could be the replacement to Sheldon Richardson long term. And then you went edge in round 1. You have Nixon in the interior. You already have Myles Garrett. You retool that defensive line, and you just make it a 4-man rush from hell, right? So I could definitely see that, but there's just no way Nick Bolton would get past the Browns here at 35. They brought in Anthony Walker, but it's just a 1-year deal. You had Taki. He's an okay off-ball linebacker. You brought back Malcolm Smith, but Bolton can be a serious answer at that question. As opposed to a Band-Aid, he could be some, hot glue. He could be an actual fix to the problem. And again, I don't see him falling to 59. There's probably a team who takes him earlier, and I'm just, undervaluing him, and that's on me. But again, it's tough. There's a lot of really good players in this year's draft, and a lot of different directions they could go. So tell me where you think Nick Bolton ends up going. I have a hard time thinking it's going to be 59 to the Browns, but if it is, Cleveland got a steal. Moving along to the Saints, Kadarius Toney's fall and his wait comes to a close here. He's another one of those late first round to second round guys. I don't think he falls to 60, but man, if he did, that would be an awesome weapon for New Orleans have, and a different type of weapon that they don't have, and it would be a big boost to Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill, I suppose. I guess it's an open competition there in camp, but for Jameis Winston, he's going to be the starter in my eyes. So the Bills are next at 61, and corner is a need here according to Draft Network, and it could be Melifonwu here from Syracuse. Really good frame. Also, Syracuse in and around New York, so, kind of a fun hometown story-ish. But I'm going to go Tommy Tugai. This could also be Davion Nixon. I should see him more as a pass rusher, interior weapon there across the defensive line. Tommy Tugai is that nose tackle, eats up blocks, stuff the run. And in this draft, you basically got a run-stopping D-tackle to put next to Ed Oliver and a project edge rusher in Gregory Rousseau, who, if developed right, we could look at in a couple years' time and say, how did he fall to pick 30? So it's all about retooling and improving across that defensive line. Tugai helps stop the run. That's an area this team needed to get better at, and makes it easier for Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds there in the linebacking core. So he's probably only a first and second down guy, so maybe you wait to get a D-tackle, a run stopper in the later rounds with some of these guys. But nonetheless, I think Tugai should certainly be in play for Buffalo. And it's a bit of an outside-the-box pick, so let me know if you think I'm crazy. But I like that fit a lot. And it's a position of need. It's a good team. There's not a whole lot of areas to get better. Green Bay back on the clock at 62. Elijah Moore off the clock. He's getting a ton of first-round hype. So, like I've said 1,000 times, I don't know if he falls to this point, but dude, he is what this Packers offense needs. MVS is the field stretcher. They brought back Alan Lazard. They tendered him. So he's got one more year in Green Bay, but Elijah Moore can be Lazard, but better, and for more than just this year. I mean, what he can do in the open space, fantastic. He has some reps and some positive signs working on the outside, but I think him in the slot for this offense with Adams and then maybe Lazard, MVS, field stretcher, whoever they want as the other outside player. Man, that wide receiver core, that's keeping Aaron Rodgers happy. A player like Elijah Moore, though it's a second-round wide receiver instead of first-rounder, that keeps Aaron Rodgers happy, puts a smile on his face while he hosts Jeopardy. Then we get to the Kansas City Chiefs and get a great value here from Brady Christensen. I don't think he gets out of the second round. I mean, again, going back to that relative athletic score, that RAS, look at Brady Christensen. This dude is super high on that board. I mean, dude's an animal when it comes to his athleticism. Great size, 6'6", 300 pounds. And the tape was great at BYU. You could definitely chart that up as BYU did not play any elite competition with great pass rushers, and I won't knock you because that's pretty objectively a fact. He didn't have anybody who was better than him, but he still did a great job protecting Zach Wilson, and Zach Wilson's stock's going up because he had an awesome blindside protector at BYU. Credit to Christensen there. And then you look at his athleticism. I don't know why the buzz went silent at the end of BYU season, but his pro day and his athletic measurables just solidified that he is a potential left tackle of the future. This is a team that, I mean, maybe they think Lucas Niang is that guy, so maybe they're going with the best linebacker available, but another corner, maybe someone on the outside, or maybe even a nickel guy, so you move Snead outside. But I think Christensen's your long-term answer there at left tackle, and maybe Niang can step up and play right tackle this upcoming season. I think he could be an upgrade over Mike Remmers at that spot. But final pick of this mock draft, and we're doing it. Kellen Mond. I don't know if he makes it to the 64th pick in the draft. There is so much hype around him. Sorry, that's still round one. I apologize. But Kellen Mond is, man, I don't know. He's getting a lot of hype, and there's a lot to like. Obviously, great athleticism, super strong arm. You just got to develop the accuracies, and what better way than sitting behind Tom Brady for 2 years, one of the most accurate QBs of all time. So it could be a partnership that makes Mond better and potentially the successor to Tom Brady. But also, even if that doesn't happen, this is a Tampa Bay team coming off winning a Super Bowl, returning all 22 starters from the big game, and then you're telling me they can add a player like Kellen Mond. They could have a couple of plays every week, or 2-3 handfuls throughout the year of plays just for Kellen Mond. Option plays, bootlegs, get him out of the pocket, RPOs, something where you can use his legs and just put a defense on ice. You can't overcommit to his running ability because he can throw the football, and if he's working under Tom Brady, you got to think he's going to get better in that area. But also, he's a dynamic athlete. Like, you have to respect that. You can't ignore him. So you could get him a couple of reps every week, and it's just something new to add to that offense, which is already fantastic. So I would love to see Kellen Mond be taken by the Bucs here at 64. I think that would be fantastic value for the Bucs, and it'd also be perfect for Mond, sit behind Brady for 2 years, and maybe become the QB of the future in Tampa Bay. But that's just how I see it. Let me know in the comments section what you think of my updated 2-round NFL mock draft. Let me know what picks I'm right on, and tell me what picks you think I'm absolutely crazy about. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button. It would mean the world to me. And if you're new to the channel, like football content or just sports content in general, please consider hitting that big red subscribe button. But that's going to do it for the video, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed it. Until next time, my name's Tej, and I'm signing off.
I'm part of the last generation that remembers Tamagotchis. Roller ring and hockey playing, hanging with the Cosbys. I feel like I'm drinking